Right. Hi, everybody. This is Beth Branham again with Brett Gillio. And this week we're going to talk about empathy. Okay, so on our first slide, we have the power of acceptance. So what the power of acceptance is basically just focusing on what is in a moment rather than what you think it should be. So say your child's having trouble, zipping up their coat or something like that, and they're having a meltdown. So instead of, you know, they should be able to do this, they should do that, it's trying to just take a step back, look at what the situation is, and then going from there. When we get caught up in what something should be, that causes some resistance, which then is using a lot of our energy on that rather than, helping calm our kids down and then work through whatever they're struggling with. So we want to have and build the power of acceptance.
I'm going to talk a little bit about empathy styles. And often when we respond to our children, um, we can actually kind of tell how we grew up and were raised in the typical style that we were raised in. And not that it's good or bad, it's just important to understand that style and how to shape it so we can help our kids learn to regulate and manage their own emotions. So there's approximately 5 styles, and the first one's ignoring, and that really is about um, where the kids come to us with an issue or concern, and we ignore the emotions and just focus on the behavior. So our goal is like, why did you hit? Why did you kick them? Instead of kind of understanding the emotion and the connection. Um, or the reason that they were struggling to manage their behaviors. And with ignoring, it's often we're not connecting with our kids emotionally and getting them in a place where where they're ready to learn or to be taught. And so when kids are connected, which we talked about in a couple previous sessions, they're more likely to learn and listen, and they're more teachable. The second empathy style is called saving, which is when we see our children distressed and we have this innate need as a parent to save them from that distress because we don't want them to be sad or hurt or angry or upset for multiple reasons. What we really want to do is we want to fix the issue, help our kids be happy, and not experience distress. And um, in often it's for us as parents, we struggle with kind of managing our own distress, and then in turn we struggle to help our kids with their emotions. And this, it's not a good thing to not allow people to be distressed, because life is, it's a roller coaster. It's up and down. We have good times, we have hard times, but most of the time life is just going okay. It's not really great and it's not really bad. And but if we save our kids from their emotions too often, they do not learn to regulate that on their own. The third style is the punishing style, so which is you criticize the child's feelings, and this is pretty common. So most of the time we've heard our I know my dad said is, I'll give you something to cry about, um, or men don't cry, or some phrase like that that really tells a kid or an individual that you're not allowed to have emotions, you're not allowed to be upset, you're not allowed to be sad. And so we just punish the kids, and then in turn what happens is they internalize those emotions, and some kids can manage it and some kids cannot. So I often kind of think about it like a, um, a tea kettle that eventually it gets so hot everything starts to escape. The steam starts to come out, or boilers. If you don't let it out, don't let the steam out or the pressure off, eventually it will explode and we have bigger issues. The fourth empathy style, which is dismissing, which really is you're going to you're just going to minimize the feelings of the kid, like, oh, that's okay. Here, let's go play with your toys. We're gonna try and move them along out of that emotion as quick as we can and onto something else so they're not distressed. Now that can be a parenting strategy if you have kids that are really struggling, but in the big pictures doesn't help teach kids to learn to manage their emotions. Um, and the final style, which is the coaching style, which is where we try to understand misbehavior and what the intense feelings are, and to help kids learn the skills necessary to manage their emotions and their behaviors in healthy ways. And just like teaching a kid to walk, it takes months for a kid to go from crawling to running without or walking without falling over all the time. And so that it really is about teaching, coaching, teaching, coaching, teaching, coaching, teaching, coaching. And anybody that plays sports, that's kind of the same philosophy there. So this is just kind of a point to really think back about um, how did your parents handle your emotions? What kind of empathy did they show you? And I know myself growing up, and I love my dad and care about him a great deal, but we grew up in the military, and it was men don't cry, they minimized emotions, and it was like you just need to suck it up. And that's kind of how that I grew up. Uh, and I'm kind of thinking a little bit about, one of the, like, nowadays there's something called the snowplow parent, which is a phrase that's out there where it's about parents trying to push aside all the struggles and stresses that a kid might encounter to make life easier for them so their kids are happier. And I think we're going to see some fallout from that about kids who don't have the resilience to deal with challenging life situations. But everybody's just a little bit different. So common practices for instead of empathy, which is, again, so instead of empathizing with our children, we might just share an experience like, oh, I had that same kind of experience that happened to me. I was fine. As parents, we might say that. Giving fix-it advice. So people will often want to be like, okay, here's your issue, let me help you fix it. That's pretty common in married couples where, and it's very common for men to want to give fix-it advice instead of listening and being empathetic. And it is more common. Research has talked a lot about men are better at fixing things because their brain is wired in such a way that they're more mechanically inclined, and moms and women are much more empathetic and emotionally connected. And it's just the way that genetics is the way we are. But when I do some marriage work, often I have to talk to husbands about, you can't fix it. Your job is to just listen, and that's really important. And then helping the spouses understand, the wives understand that sometimes when your husband's trying to fix something, it's because they actually really care, but they need you to communicate and say, no, I don't want you to fix it. I just need you to listen. And so as kids get older, sometimes we can teach those skills. Sometimes we offer humor to lighten things up. We joke about it. And that can kind of be part of that dismissing parenting style, which, we just try to joke about stuff because it's really hard for us to manage. Sometimes instead of using empathy, we just might reassure people, hey, it'll be fine. Life will be fine. It'll be okay. When the person just really needs to know, yeah, I'm here for you. I don't need to be told that life is going to be fine, because right now I just feel terrible. Life is not fine for me. And of course, we might gush with sympathy, and just talk about how sorry we are that things happen and so on and so forth. If somebody passes away or dies, that would be like we really are apologetic to people about, we're sorry that happened to you, so on and so forth. And sometimes people just need us to listen and be there, and just understand their situation.
Okay,